So, I'm going to start a series of podcasts that are going to be about some of my favorite books and business books, leadership books. And the idea here is that we're going to be giving these books away in sets of five. And so, if you're interested, you can, again, give me your email address, give me your information, and we'll set you up with getting into the raffle. First one is going to be about, again, probably one of the first books that I read that really was significant for me with leadership and business. And it was Good to Great by Jim Collins. I hope that many of you have read this book, seen this book before. But what is interesting is that it's a book that helped me to realize I don't want to just settle for good. I want to make sure that I, as a leader, become a level 5 leader. And as a company, I want to create a company that basically transcends what everyone else does. And I'm going to try to create something that is great. And so, just some different things about this. Jim talks about, once again, level 5 leadership. And level 5 leadership is about this awesome combination, unusual combination of humility and fierce resolve. All right. So it's unusual to have both, by the way. So people who are humble and fiercely driven, just driven. Many people are humble and quiet and not driven, or they're the charismatic leader, the one who's just saying, we're going to make $1 billion, whatever. But when you get the combo of that, a person who is both humble and driven, that is, unusual and special. So as a leader, one of the keys for me is how do I make sure that, my natural tendency is I'm a type 3 and achiever on the personality Enneagram scale. I'm driven. I like to achieve. I like to win. I like to, be super successful. And something I've had to work on for most of my life is this idea of humility, this idea of I need to shut my ego down, most of the time, and then make sure that I am being a wonderful, great servant leader along with the idea of driving myself and driving my company towards success. So this awesome combination of humility and drive, fierce resolve. All right. Next one that I like a lot about, next concept I like a lot about from that book is this idea of first who, then what. First who, then what. It's key. It is all about your people. Your business is your people, unless you make widgets. But even then, if you look at the auto companies, I could have a great auto company. If I don't have great people doing the work in the auto company, the cars are crap. And so I can create systems, and I need to create systems as a leader in my business so that people can be successful. But then I need to hire the right people and put the right people in the right seats on the bus. I've used the metaphor of the bus for, 10, 20 years, ever since I first read his book, because it made so much sense to me. That's the idea of, okay, so if I'm the head of the company, I'm the driver of the bus, right? And what I need to do as a driver of the bus is to make sure that I get the right people in the right seats on the bus. If I get the right people in the right seats on the bus, then what's great is that I can allow them to do their job and do it greatly. So first who, then what? Once I've got the right people, right, then I can help them to know what is the right thing for them to do, right, to create success for my business. It is key that first who, then what, and you make sure that you do have the right systems in place to allow your people to be ridiculously successful. All right. I want ridiculous success. I want great people doing great things, making success. So make sure that you emphasize hiring character over credentials. All right. You hire for the person, then you train them to do the job really well. All right. I don't care what your resume is. What I care is who are you as a person, and you fit in with the tribe that I've created at work. Because if you're the right person, man, you will rock with my company. right? Next one, I've said this a lot in the different things that I've written about or spoken about. Jim's focus on and his concept of confront the brutal facts. All right, confront the brutal facts. And what I love is that he has a combination of it. You confront the brutal facts, but never lose faith. All right, confront the brutal facts, but never lose faith. And it's a paradox, obviously. The idea here is we need to make sure that we face reality. All right, to face reality of what's happening to us in front of us right now. But we need to make sure that we never stop holding on to the vision of greatness that we have created. All right, so we need to confront the brutal facts, but make sure that we have hope. Make sure that we have vision. Make sure that we have optimism so that we keep moving forward. Because realistically, it's our vision that will create success. It's our vision that will guide us so that when we get, huge challenges placed in front of us, we know, oh, wow, I need to face this challenge right now and figure out how to deal with this problem, but I'm never going to lose sight. Right? I'm never going to lose sight of the vision, of the goal. And leaders who balance both honesty and hope, they build resilient teams. Leaders who are able to both confront the brutal facts and never lose faith. They create outstanding teams. They create outstanding organizations. So make sure that you have that paradox of both things where you confront whatever's in front of you, all right, the brutal facts, but you never lose sight of your vision, never lose faith in where you are going and that you will get there. All right, another concept from him, which is great. It's called the Hedgehog Concept. And this is, first time I read it, I'm like, this is really interesting. I didn't know much about hedgehogs. But the idea is you stay simple, all right? You find your sweet spot. What is it that you are deeply passionate about? What is it that you can be best about? And then finally, what is it that drives your economic engine? All right, so what are you passionate about? What can you be best at? And what drives your company's economic engine? And if you can figure those things out, wow, you are doing well. And I will tell you that few leaders, few companies know that combination of what you're great at, passionate about, what you can be best at, and what drives your economic engine. If you can figure those three things out, wow, will you be able to be, successful because you never stop focusing on the hedgehog, right? You keep your head down and you don't get distracted by all the fancy little shiny objects out there. Because realistically, great entrepreneurs is the problem with great entrepreneurs is that we have so many great ideas. All right. That's a problem because it's shiny object syndrome. We want to make sure that we stay focused. We want to make sure that we stay disciplined. All right. And that's the next thing I'll focus on with this book and with Jim is that he talks about a culture of discipline. And this to me is so important. I love it that freedom comes from disciplined action. All right. Freedom comes from disciplined action. And freedom does not come from chaos. Freedom does not come from just doing whatever you want to do. The more disciplined that I am, right, in the day-to-day, in what I need to do, in my hedgehog, the more disciplined I am in my hedgehog, the more free I'm going to be able to then try new things. Right? Here's a great concept where he says, shoot bullets before cannonballs. Right? Shoot bullets before cannonballs. And the idea is you test and you test and you test. Once you hit the right thing, oh, that test worked. Then you shoot a cannonball at it. And that's discipline. The discipline is shoot a bullet, shoot a bullet, shoot a bullet. And then it gives me the freedom, right, when I find which bullet hits to now go all in. And that's discipline, right? We need to make sure that we stay disciplined, that we have a system, we have a framework, a process that allows us to be successful and to create success for our people. If we can do that as leaders, now we can move from good to great, right? And I want to be clear, discipline, many people think that they are. Very few people are. All right. Very few people have the ability to focus on what's most important. Right. The more that you can do that, the more that you can focus on what's most important, the more successful you'll be. All right. Another thing that's interesting that he talks about is this idea of technology as an accelerator, not a driver. Now, I realize that these days, this book was written a while ago. These days, AI is changing this some. All right, the technology of AI is actually a driver in some regards. But the key is we should never let tech be the thing that defines what makes a company great. AI, for me, is a thought partner. AI, for me, is something that makes my company, my thoughts better. Right? And I'm using AI a fair amount in what I'm doing. But what's key is that I want to make sure that I always have a vision that I've created because of who I am, my values, my principles, that has nothing to do with technology. Right? I use technology to accelerate my business. AI should be used to help us to accelerate significantly our success. But I have to remember that it is people that drive success. It is me that drives success. It is my vision that drives success. All right? Make sure that you don't, again, chase the shiny objects that are especially non-AI shiny objects, because realistically, they will distract you. And it stops you from the discipline that you need to have. All right? Next thing, one of his most important, significant concepts, what a big deal, is called the Flywheel Effect. All right, the Flywheel Effect. And the idea with this, man, I loved when I saw this before. You imagine this 500-pound flywheel, all right? And it's on this center pivot. And your job as the leader, as the entrepreneur, as the person starting a new culture, whatever, is to start pushing that flywheel. So this big round, disc. And it's so much work to start pushing it. It's so hard to start something new with that. But the key with the flywheel effect is that as you do the work, the massive work to start with, all right, and you take a step and another step and another step, and you start moving the flywheel, you start moving around this disc, it starts to build momentum. Right? And what's key is that as you keep pushing and as you keep pushing, as you keep pushing, that momentum from consistent, disciplined, focused effort starts to now create speed. And the great thing about this 500-pound flywheel is that once you get this thing going, once you've had the discipline to create the structure, you hire the right people, and you stay focused, right? You stayed focused. Now that flywheel is moving. And what I think is great is that as you keep your focus, as you keep your discipline, and you keep pushing the flywheel, especially there's certain key inputs along the way for the flywheel. It's, again, you read the book, it's great stuff. But if you keep your focus on these key inputs that move the flywheel forward, you stay disciplined, now no one can stop the flywheel. Now it's this juggernaut that just keeps moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. And what I love is I don't care if I make a decision that's a bad hire. That person can't stop the flywheel. They might be, a fly in the ointment, but they can't stop the flywheel because we keep pushing forward. So make sure that you know the flywheel effect. Make sure that you use the flywheel effect. Make sure that you focus on the key things in your business that will move it from good to great. And as you do that, man, you are now unstoppable. All right. Last one I'll focus on is called the doom loop. All right. Again, this is all great stuff from Jim. The doom loop is interesting. You want to make sure once you've got that momentum going, all right, you have to make sure that you don't do all these little things that kill your momentum. All right. If you constantly are shifting this way and you get distracted by this and you're going here and here, you're stopping the momentum of the flywheel. All right. Don't chase the shiny objects. The doom loop is about distraction. And so if you can stay focused, if you can stay disciplined, man, read this book. It's so good. You will avoid the doom loop. And if you avoid the doom loop and you do the right things, if you are both humble and driven, now you can really elevate your company. You can elevate yourself and you can truly achieve great success. So, Good to Great by Jim Collins, a great book. You ever get a chance, make sure that you listen to it or read it. It is wonderful. Remember that we're going to be giving you an option to win 5 of these books at a time. And these are some of my favorite books. I hope you take the chance. Thanks.